All roads have led to this. It's time to talk about the season finale of The Chair Company. Right off the bat, I'll just say that this episode definitely raised more questions than it answered. And it also called into question certain answers we thought we'd already gotten. One big answer we did get, though, is that Ron did choose to be selfless. He chose Barb and the family over telling everybody this whole thing he found out. Now, yes, is he a little bit misguided in that? Like, he has this ridiculous arrogance about it? Yeah. But at the same time, it's still a bit of his arc has completed. You know what I mean? Like, he grew a little bit. I think there is some good, deep down inside him, but it's like masked by arrogance and lack of or the wanting of an ego. I mean, if you look at him episode 1 to 7, I think in the last episode, episode 7, he really did complete his arc a little bit. He did choose to make the selfless choice, and I think that the season was leading up to that. So I consider this episode a lot more of a setup for season 2, and I think they have a plan for that because, I mean, this was already shot, and I assume that when they wrote this final episode, they knew where they might head if they were allowed to do a season 2. And the fact that it was renewed so early, I think they're probably already in the middle of writing those scripts, or at least getting the story down. This episode is really interesting because at the end of the day, it kind of confused something a little bit for me, which we're going to talk to because I hope you can help me piece this together in the comments. I feel like at this point, I should get ready for season 2 a board with all the red threads. I think that'd be pretty funny, but also just to keep track of what's going on because a lot of stuff was brought back from earlier in the show, and we've even set up now who I think will be the main antagonist against Ron going forward. Let's get to the breakdown, and then as we go, I'll just start adding color to certain things and trying to piece it all together with you. This episode starts at a wedding, and if you saw the video I posted about my predictions for this episode, I was so wrong it's not even funny. Because the beginning of this is very random until the very end. It shows a guy who had too many cigars, and he's dancing with his daughter at their wedding, and he's stumbling around, and it's kind of goofy. It's pretty funny the way the guy's like flopping back and forth during the dance. But then he ends up at a bar, and he meets a guy who's commenting on the poem that this father of the bride wrote and delivered at the wedding. Now, this man we would come to know as the hilariously named Stacy Crystals. And he seems like a kind of guy who's a con man. I don't get very good vibes from him. Sure, he's giving this guy compliments, but it really seems like he's trying to get him into some weird scheme. And then after this moment where they talk about how he could, when you come to LA, I'll get you in the recording studio. You could be the next big star, to quote a I think you should leave bit. Those just keep popping up just because my brain is wired that way. Then of course after that, Stacy Crystals gets up, leaves the bar, goes out to the lobby, and a kid walks in and says, "Stacy Crystals, you ruined my dad's life," and pulls out of a backpack a 3D printed piece and takes down Stacy Crystals. And we're sitting there going, what does any of this have to do with what's about to come? Well, we'll eventually find out that Stacy Crystals is very involved with Tekk and Red Ball Market Global, perhaps even a co-owner based on documents we find later, but more on that later. For now, we go back to Ron, who wakes up in bed with his wife, and it's revealed that he didn't tell anybody and that he's okay with it. And he ends up walking baby, and while he's on the walk, he's calling Natalie. And Natalie's like, well, what's going on? I checked out this thing. And he goes, we can't tell anybody. We cannot tell anybody. I can't tell you why we can't tell anybody. I can't tell you who's involved. We got to end it. And that to me was the biggest thing for this episode. I was actually very shocked that he went in that direction because at the very end of the last episode, I really thought he was going to give in to the arrogance, to that little demon in his head that's telling him, you have to be known for something, you have to have a legacy. But no, he tells Natalie, we gotta let it go. And that was really good character growth, even if it was a facade and that it's eating him alive inside. It was still something, and I enjoyed that. And of course, we see Tara walk in and say, you told him about Carver's, Wendy's Carver's, the whole ham thing from the last episode? And she says, yeah. And that leads to another thing. Eventually, she shows up at the house, and Natalie is moving back in for a little bit, or at least staying there, because Tara freaked out. But a little bit before that, we see Seth coming home, and Ron is sitting on his bed with a little black plastic hat that he gave him in episode 2, and he's like, who threw my hat in the trash? Which I thought was hilarious. But also it leads to Seth crying and revealing that this thing he's been working on with Richard was a stop-motion animation and that he wants to leave basketball behind and go to Rhode Island School of Design to study animation and just the arts. Now, this was an answer to a question that I had from a couple episodes back when they were leaving Tara's apartment and Tara was hugging him and he was thanking her for showing him Frankenweenie. And then it cuts to Ron on the phone and you hear in the background Tara saying to him, yeah, they're your parents. They'll love you either way, or something to that effect. And it was very like, what's that gonna be? I assumed it was him leaving basketball, but I was very curious where that was gonna go. And we find out that that is what he's been doing, stop motion animation, and he's got a love for the arts, and who can fault him for that? But then in another great moment, he tells Ron this, and Ron says, "No worries, bud. You want to stop playing basketball? Stop playing basketball." And I think that was a really good moment for Ron. He's really patching things up with his kids as this goes on, even though there are little bumps in the road. And I was shocked because if you saw my predictions video, I really thought this might end with him losing everything. What Ron doesn't know, though, is that all of his colleagues and his boss and supervisor are in a boardroom deciding whether or not he should come back to his job, whether he should go down a few rungs, as Douglas says. It's funny that he's still in the wheelchair. But what's so interesting is I think this here is the beginning of Jeff's villain arc. The little ways that they talk about how Ron roughed him up a little bit, or pushed him, or they're lucky he didn't do that to Ben because Ben would beat him up. They're really emasculating Jeff in this moment, and his eyes, like he's building up a hatred for Ron, I think, because he thinks that Ron like showed him up because everybody's talking about it like that. And I think this here is the genesis for his villain arc. And I think especially by the end of this episode, there is a strong possibility that moving forward, he will be the main antagonist to Ron. Because to be honest, they're very similar characters in mindset. They both just want to mean something. They want to have a life that they enjoy living, but they also want to be taken seriously by people, and they both believe that they have talents and skills that people should recognize, and that they feel like they're being undervalued. We really see this with Jeff later on while they're doing karaoke, and he assures Ron that like he's so much better than that. He has this idea of himself that is higher than most people have for him. And I really thought him calling Ron and saying, hey, we should settle this over a couple beers, was an attempt to get him in a location where he could fight him and prove that he was better than Ron. And I still don't know that maybe that was the case. It was really weird there when he had Grego there, and there was just an interesting dynamic that even in that moment, Jeff couldn't handle it by himself. So I'm curious to see if there will be any answer to that or reveal that like that night Jeff was planning on fighting Ron and showing the people at the firm that he could take him. But even if that's not the case, there's definitely something nefarious brewing with Jeff. We also get a couple answers to the character of Mike Santini. Mike finds Ron while he's walking. Baby! I can't not say that like him. It's just so fun. I'm sorry. But Mike finds him while he's on a walk, and he confronts him and says, I don't want people to laugh at my grave. I don't want people to dance on my grave, to sing about my death. And he has this whole moment where he's really like impassioned about not becoming Ebenezer Scrooge. And it's another moment, another test for Ron, where these people like give us the answers, tell people we can reveal this thing, and he's like, no, we can't talk about it. It's done. It's over. And he's like, you could go back to your family, who we eventually do find out is not really his family. Mike Santini inherited the heart of a man who passed away and was an organ donor. And when that guy's daughter was getting married, the mother thought it would be fun if Mike, not fun, I mean, she thought it would be nice if Mike walked her down the aisle because it would still be like a piece of her father was still there. And that's a wild turn. Because that sounds sweet, sounds innocent enough, but then it turns out that Mike was trying to hug the mother and thought that he was really her husband. And then things spiraled because he started hitting on the daughter, and Tim Robinson's face, by the way, when this stuff is being told to him, because I'm going to skip ahead a little bit, we'll go back. When Lynette, his supposed daughter, is telling Ron all of this, Tim Robinson's performance, just the faces he makes, really good, man, really good. Because we're all sitting there the same going, what? And suddenly Mike seems like a more unstable gentleman. And so I don't know where that's going to head in season 2, but he may become an even more of a loose cannon as we go on, because I don't think this revelation is going to mean nothing moving forward. Now we get on to the confusing bits. First one up, Ron is walking Baby after trying to sweat out the chocolate because Baby has eaten a ton of chocolate, and that really hit me. I was like, no, 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 don't do this, chair company. What are we doing with Baby? All right, don't be doing this. Luckily, Baby's fine. Baby's chilling on a sofa with her original owner, apparently, because while they're walking, Ron trips, hits his head, which I thought might be the third hit that the doctor was talking about in the hospital when she says, you've been taking some hits to the head, like you got a lot of fluid in there. I'm wondering if that's what set off this weird nightmare that he has in this scene, because he stumbles upon a house in the woods and this man walks out and he says, hey, that's my dog. That's not Baby. That's Minnie Mouse. And Minnie Mouse was lost or stolen from my yard. And Ron says he purchased Baby. But my question is, do you think he really purchased it, or do you think he stole Baby? Is this another like point in the thread of Ron's lost it, he has delusions, he does things he's not aware of? I'd be very curious to hear what you think about that. And I'd also be very curious to hear what you think about this guy and the fact that he brings Ron into his shed and he's like, look at that. It's a shape that's never been done before, which is another weird I think you should leave thing. But this was like scary, I think you should leave. I was like, I think Ron should leave this guy's house. Do not go in that shed. That is true doom. Because, of course, as Ron is looking at this thing, he turns around and the guy's got like eye makeup on and he's like, ah, which was really a wild moment. But, of course, Ron wakes up. However, the guy says, thanks for saving my dog. And so I do wonder, it's like, did that really happen? No, it couldn't have, right? But the part where the guy said that that's his dog did really happen. So I don't know. It's a bit confusing. I'd like to see your read on that. But the dog's name is Minnie Mouse, and Minnie Mouse returning was not on my bingo card, which is one of the comments that the Instagram post gets, because Ron decides, I want to be known for doing something good, and if I can't get the credit I deserve for cracking the Tekk mystery, maybe this guy can take a picture of me, tag me in it, and say, hey, this guy saved my dog, and that's exactly what happens. And then he's in this photo, which is really funny, the way that was edited too, where it cuts to like his face frozen, like that one freeze frame of him smiling on the couch. Really funny stuff. That's Baby settled. So Baby was here for a couple episodes. Now Baby's gone. Baby's Minnie Mouse. Now, of course, after this, the cracks start to show in Ron's facade, because he gets home and he starts looking at the tuition for RISD, Rhode Island School of Design. And he starts stressing about money again. And that leads him to finding an email that says that Fisher Robey is going to announce a new project lead. So they've, because he told Jeff on the phone that he's taking his time to figure it out. That's it. They're gonna promote someone else, and this thought really gets to him. And so, of course, what does he do? He calls Jeff and he says, "Hey, I'll take you up on that. I'll take you up on that beer." And just before he leaves, he sees Barb on the couch, and she reveals that she kind of made fun of him when she was talking to George about realizing that he's on this whole mystery. But she apologizes, and he didn't realize she said that, and that, I think, is the final straw as to why he's willing to tell Jeff and Grego eventually that he did crack something. And that's that sad moment where it's like, damn, he was really almost there, but we knew he was going to slip. But he doesn't get to slip because Jeff, whose last name is revealed to be Levjamin, which is just hilarious to me, is called up to do karaoke right as he's about to spill the beans. And it's a good thing Ron didn't, because we're about to find out in a mere moment that Jeff Levjamin is a part of Tekka and Red Ball Market Global. Because, as I mentioned earlier, Jeff is like pleading with Ron after he messes up his karaoke that he's got talent, he can do things, he can make music, and he hands Ron his phone playing a song, and Ron starts listening to one, and he's like, you're actually pretty good. And there's like this spark that he recognizes that same type of person who like really just wants to be known for doing something good, that has talent. And then it switches. He goes, listen to them all. And Ron picks another song, and he hears something that like triggers something in his brain, and he runs away while Jeff gets called back up to karaoke. And in the bathroom, he pulls up the hold music for Red Ball Market Global, and it's the same song, just with different words, same rhythm, same melody, the whole thing, and it just lines up. And so that prompts him to immediately go to his office, or rather Jeff's office at their building, and just go snooping. Now, this find not only blows the whole thing wide open a little bit more, but it also confuses something from the last episode, because as he's looking through this office, he's not finding anything, and then he's remembering all these things that Jeff has said to him, and he says, like, don't lean on my wall, this isn't, whatever. So, of course, in an act of defiance and spite, Ron leans on that wall, and when he does, he comes off of it, and a little drawer is opened that was hidden in the wall, and it's got all these files in it, and he's looking through, and he finds the name Tekk. He finds business licensing agreements, what I assume is business licensing agreements, and they have his name on there. They got Stacy Crystals on there. It's Red Ball Market Global, it's Tekk, all of it, right? But he's looking for Alice, and he can't find Alice. They make it a point to show that she's not there in these files. And that's really interesting because we all thought, or at least I thought in the last episode, that was really the reveal, is that Alice is behind all of this. But now it's like this whole thing, this whole web, and I'm starting to feel like Ron because I'm trying to piece it together. And it turns out I think Alice is just part of the machine, She's part of the Delaware town government portion of it, and it seems that Stacy Crystals and Jeff Levjamin are both in charge of these two businesses. And so that speaks to a certain amount of importance to the first scene, because it's revealed that Stacy Crystals is this like con man, and he's just trying to like get one over on people. And so I would imagine that he is part of the brainchild that became Tekk and Red Ball Market Global, and perhaps it was his idea to do the whole switcheroo with the chairs, assuming that is the case. Because it technically wasn't like I don't know if I 100% would confirm that, but for now I will believe, based on what we've seen, that is what Tekk is doing. We do also see Jeff get a call and hear that Stacy was taken down, and he asked about Danny, who I think will also be another antagonist moving forward. He was the guy that Jeff was talking to 2 episodes ago when they were in Sedona. He was the one with the watch, and the one that was kind of making Jeff feel bad for how he lived. He's also in one of the photos that Ron finds in Jeff's office with Stacy Crystals. So he's definitely going to be coming back in the next season, and you really start to see the pieces that are laid in the last few episodes. And I think that's why I'm hopeful going into season 2 that they had a plan already, or at least a certain amount of a plan, because you can tell that these are the seeds that are being laid down for the rest of the plot points to grow out of. So once Ron is done at the firm, he leaves and goes home, and that's when we have that whole conversation I already told you about with Lynette, Mike's supposed daughter. But on the way to that, he did call Mike and say, we're going to blow it wide open. Like, this is it. No one's going to sing about you after you're gone. No one's going to dance on your grave. But now buckle up, because we got the final scene of the episode, the big ending to the season, because Lynette walks away to her car, and Ron's phone rings, and this like ghost face voice that we've been hearing over the last few episodes that is saying, I'm finally going to do something to you, Ron. It's revealed. And so he says, if you want to know who I am, I think it's time, you find out what's going on. It wasn't an accident that you fell on that, from that chair. And so then I'm like, whoa, all right, this is it, man. What's it going to be? Turns out it's this guy. This was, what? This is the strangest bit, I think, of the season, maybe? The whole Coca-Cola bar with everybody acting like World War Z zombies was pretty crazy, but this whole thing about this guy telling Ron that it's Amanda, the woman who he saw the skirt of on her birthday, the one that has caused the HR nightmare. I think there's something up with Amanda, and I've said this in some of the past videos, because she acts weird around Ron, and my theory is that she liked him in high school, and he didn't really give her the time of day, and now she's trying to get to him somehow, because of that weird HR interaction they had in the last episode, or 2 episodes ago, I can't remember which. And so for this guy to show up, I also don't trust the thing this guy says, because he starts rattling off that Amanda can move things with her mind, and that she was the one that broke the chair. And I'm like, are we going there? I don't think so, but part of me would be like, that'd be crazy if they start throwing in like telekinesis and the show just goes in a completely different direction, but I don't think we're going to get there. So this guy reveals that Amanda's had this grudge against Ron, and that she was waiting for an opportunity to really just get one over on him, and so that's why she used her mind to break the chair. And then Ron's like, well, what's going on? And the final thing we're left with is this guy saying, Amanda's my girlfriend. And then a close-up on Ron as he's like, what's happening? So I don't know. This is such a weird ending to this season because it ended with like a moment that I don't trust anything about. You know, it's a fun, like weird scene, and it's delivered really well. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't even believe that this guy is dating Amanda because I don't know. He just seems like he's got a thing against Ron for something in high school, and also it's revealed that he was the one who was in the hockey mask that was spinning around in the chair in front of his house, and so this is what complicates things in this episode. They really got me feeling like Ron trying to piece this all together. And I know I joked about getting a giant board to put all this conspiracy stuff on, but I genuinely might do it because I feel like it'd be easier to keep track of. And I absolutely love what this show has been doing and how it's kept me on the hook every episode, and I've always been looking forward to Sundays, and I'm so sad that it's over for a bit now until we get season 2. But at the same time, I'm so confused as to how all of this lays out, right? Because like I said, you have Alice, right? Let's put her up on the board. Let's make a board right now. Alice is right here. I'm going to put her in afterwards. So, we have Alice, we have Jeff, we have Amanda, we have the guy in the hockey mask, we got Mike, and we got Danny, Jeff's friend. How all of this goes together? Oh, I can't forget Stacy Crystals. I'll put him on top of everybody here. I don't understand how, like, we need a web, right? Because I don't understand how Alice, I guess she is just the government body who's dealing with Tekka. She might not know who owns it. I imagine they keep that close to the vest because then people will find out it's a scheme. And I think that all of this, like the Amanda stuff, I think I put her over here. I might be wrong. I'll be editing this after and I'll figure it out. But the Amanda stuff is interesting to me because it's also consequences of Ron's actions. Technically, if we go by what that guy was saying. So it just happened that this was all happening while he was on the hunt for Tekka and all of this going on. And so I hope that we get a little bit more streamlined in season 2. And I hope that things sort of wrap up a little bit more because I've watched every episode a couple times now. And this is the best understanding that I have of the Tekka mystery. So Jeff and Stacy Crystals started Tekka and Red Ball Market Global as a scheme to make money. Perhaps that's how Jeff made it to where he is, right? At the head of this firm, even though he kind of, I don't know, he doesn't seem like he's got anything there in terms of being good at his job. He just seems kind of like a rich guy, though he may disagree with me on that. So they started Red Ball Market Global and Tekka. They start doing their scheme. It leads to Delaware with Alice, and she starts trying to get a better position, and so there's the whole thing with what's her name? Teresa Bonaventura. I believe it was Teresa Bonaventura. She, gets rid of Teresa for a bit, keeps her on the payroll, then embezzles the money, right? So she may not know who, Jeff is, who Stacy Crystals is. That's fine. Then by the mere coincidence that if we're taking this guy at his word, Amanda was responsible, maybe she didn't use her mind, but she was responsible for the chair breaking. Then by that coincidence, Ron was sent on this random goose hunt that actually led to him cracking a conspiracy. You guys are pretty good with finding details that I missed. So if you have any pieces that you think connect to this, please leave it in the comments. This is the time to do it. We got the whole, it's over. Season 1 is over, and now we can only look to the future. But honestly, this season for me was a great episode of television, because what I look for in television is fun characters, good performances, and something to keep me on the hook week to week, and the Chair Company did that. Now, you have to probably like Tim Robinson's sense of humor, but that is right up my alley, and I really enjoy, and it can't be understated, what they're doing with the characters and how they're writing things and making Ron believable, but slightly heightened. Everybody in this world is kind of silly, but at the core of each character is something that they want and something that they desire to have for themselves, for their own well-being. And that, to me, is the great mark of a TV show. As the week goes on, I'm sure I'll probably make a couple more videos about the Chair Company, because it's just so fun to talk about and to analyze. And we're definitely going to do a season 2 prediction video. So if you have any predictions, also leave those in the comments, and we'll talk about it. If you made it this far into this series of videos, and you enjoy these analysis, breakdowns, reviews, whatever you want to call them, rambles, leave a like. It helps me know I am doing something good in this cold, dark, bleak world. And let me know when you started watching them, because I just want to say thank you. And it's been fun to talk about the Chair Company. I would now like to address HBO though, as a final moment. HBO, Tim Robinson, whoever's out there, Andrew DeYoung. If anyone sees this and they're connected to HBO, please, I beg you, release this series on Blu-ray. I would love to add it to my shelf and just rewatch it on glorious physical media. Luckily, HBO's usually been pretty good about releasing stuff on Blu-ray, so if anyone can get this message to them, like, please, because I want this on my shelf. I want this forever. I will see you all for a predictions video tomorrow, maybe the next day. I don't know, maybe I'll take some time to process all of this and see where it's going, but surely this week we'll have a predictions video up for season 2, and I am stoked.